You know, I hope that tonight is not, you guys know that, if you do the work, you work hard enough, dreams come true. You know that, we all know that. But hopefully what you get from tonight is the understanding that those times when you get up early and you work hard, those times when you stay up late and you work hard, those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream. That's the dream. It's not the destination, it's the journey. And if you guys can understand that, then what you'll see happen is that you won't accomplish your dreams. Your dreams won't come true. Something greater will. And if you guys can understand that, then I'm doing my job as a father. Thank you guys so much. I love you.
The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Vitruvian Man podcast, a podcast centered around self-mastery. I, of course, am your host, Zach Shankin. Today, I'm joined with Trevor Lewis. You can follow along the program I'm working on and the podcast as well at Vitruvian Gentleman on Instagram and myself at ZDSCHENKEN. But a little bit about Trevor. So today, I'm joined, like I said, by Trevor Lewis. Trevor grew up in LA and Atlanta, where we went to high school together. And he played on the football and basketball team. In college, Trevor's family came upon some financial trouble, leading him to have to drop out of college 2 separate times to step up and provide for the family. In 2019, Trevor moved from his home here in Atlanta to Texas to begin to work 12 hours a day at a Subaru dealership to make ends meet. With his work ethic, Trevor rose to a top sales position there before doing the same thing at an exotic car dealership over the next year and a half. At 22, Trevor started his own dealership business and has to date sold over 25 million in cars. Trevor also holds a real estate license and health insurance license and is a pretty impressive dude, in my opinion. So, Trevor, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, I was so happy when you reached out. Obviously, I've been kind of putting this stuff out there, and it was really cool to have you DM me. And then obviously we hopped on a call to kind of catch up. And we hadn't talked in years, right? So
it's probably 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's wild to think. Yeah,
yeah. It's one, crazy to think how much time has passed, but two, who I certainly was, and you were back in high school. I'm sure like you feel the same way about yourself, but like I was a completely different person, like changed so much as a man. And, I can say like speaking to you now compared to my experiences with you then, like you've clearly gone on the journey, developed so much as a man. And that's a lot of the stuff I'm curious to hear about today on the podcast. So yeah, I think the best way to do it is kind of wind back the clock and do it in a bit of a chronological order. So we can bring it back to high school. Obviously, we both went to the same high school. So I'm curious to hear, like I had with both the Joshes and Ryan as well, like I want to hear what your high school experience at Fellowship was like. Certainly a little bit unique.
So probably the uniquest, of everybody you'll probably speak to from our high school days, or even kids who've gone past me, maybe even before me. And that's not me gloating.
That's a big claim.
Like, and the reason I'll tell you why is because of one, my race. Like, it's just obvious.
Yeah.
Our school that we went to is all white school, right? When I came like 3 days late. I was the only kid of minority in 4 classes, in the sense of freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I think we had maybe Declan Reed was there, maybe at the time.
Yeah.
So there was nobody. Like, I was the minority. Like, literally, you got, less than 1%. So that's kind of how it started off being pretty unique, right? Josh came a year later, and then it was 2 of us, like you said. So then it got different. But that first year was pretty difficult. But in my entirety of my experience there, ended very positive. In the beginning, it was very rough. And as I've become a man and recently, thinking about my high school relationships and times, and after speaking to you, I really started realizing myself in high school and what I was trying to achieve without
Mhm.
knowing it. My high school experience was all about people. It was all about wanting people to like me, wanting people to love me, wanting people to care about me, because
Yeah.
I didn't feel like that my first 2 years of high school. And I definitely didn't get that because I was homeschooled the year before. Then I was kind of bullied at the last school I went to. So my mindset going into high school was like, I want these kids to love me. If that
Right.
even like, from your experience with me, I don't know if it felt like that where I always was trying to be the center of attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think to some degree, you definitely, I mean, you have a big personality and had a big personality. So I think you naturally stepped into that like natural entertainer. Like, I wouldn't say like class clown because you weren't like pranking or like fucking on the teachers necessarily. But I
Mm-hmm.
think definitely just being like a loud, boisterous personality, like center of the room, I think you command that naturally. And so, yeah, I could definitely see a little bit of that. And I mean, like we talked about before, I think everybody in high school is so insecure because you're learning so much about yourself, and so you want to find that acceptance. I'm curious though, like touching on the race thing, like did you feel the ostracization, was that a product of just simply being the only like minority, or do you think people like was it like a mental frame where you're like, oh, I'm the only one and I can't see anyone else like me, so it feels like I'm on an island? Or do you think people actually put you in a place and treated you differently because of it?
I think they put me there. So in this, like, look, I'm a Republican. I'm a Christian. I don't give a damn about being black or white. I don't care, bro. Like, I don't care, especially the older I got. But like, I can see back then, like, it was like, let's just take it now. 7 years difference of just time in the world. People are just more acclimated, like, to be with different races. They're okay with hanging out with different races. Like, even in 7 years, a lot's changed, right?
Sure.
Back then, for me, the way I felt was, look, being in the South in Georgia
Yeah.
with an all white school in an all white community, like did you know for the first 2 weeks of school I went there, people called me Trayvon. The Trayvon Martin shooting just happened. I didn't even know that until a kid had to apologize to me. I'm like, what is happening? And a
Jesus
teacher had to come
Christ.
up to me. And I never told my parents this. I was called Trayvon Martin for 2 weeks, bro. Like, that is unbelievably unacceptable right now that I grow up
Yeah,
and
fuck.
I realize, and a lot of that shit happened. A lot of that stuff happened over time. Um, like, girls didn't want to date me in that school because of my color of skin. I truly do believe that. Um, just a bunch of other stuff I could probably bring up, but my brain is gonna have to like dig it out of there.
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't have to trauma dump or like especially dox anybody
No,
specifically. No, I'm
no,
just
no. I would never dock
curious.
anybody. Like, it was rough. It was pretty rough for the first 2 years. Um, I definitely felt like there was a thing about I was a big personality. If I had been white and a big personality, it would have been a little bit different. It would have been for sure. And I loved my time there. I loved the people that I had a relationship with. It was
Yeah.
completely awesome after the first 2 years. Um, but I definitely felt like I kind of was put in a box. And I bet you Josh kind of felt like that too.
Yeah.
But there was the people that I sought love from were kind of different than kind of the people Josh was, seeking friendships with. Like, your group versus my
Yeah.
group. I felt like your group was very intelligent people. Like, even he said that you guys were kind of trying to figure out who can take the hardest classes, who can be the smartest. The kids that I were with, they weren't necessarily thinking that. They're
Right.
more of like, hey, what girls can we get? Obviously, they wanted to be good in sports. They wanted to be popular. I wanted to
Sure.
be popular. So I felt like I went through that crowd. And I probably put a lot of unnecessary, you know, crap on me. But I feel like to answer your question, I was put there. I
Yeah.
helped a little bit. I'm not going to say I didn't, but I was put
Sure.
there.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And I don't know. I certainly, I can't empathize with that experience, but I sympathize for it. And, you know, it was an observation I made when I transitioned to college, obviously going to Georgia Tech, like massive university, wildly diverse, big public school. So, you know, you go from super homogenous, tiny Christian white high school to like this huge environment where it's like, oh shit, like not only are people like look different, but they believe different things. They're from all over the earth. Like they're not just from different states or different cities, but like literally completely different countries. So worldviews are completely different. It was an eye-opening experience, like learning kind of because yeah, like even back then, I mean, obviously like wokeness has kind of continued to just trend more and more. But even back when we were in high school, everyone was like preaching the gospel of diversity, like it's like super, super valuable. But you don't get to see like why it's important until you get to talk to people and hear their perspectives, because you can learn so much more. Like I think that the important part about diversity is like diversity of perspective, right? Like the reason it matters that someone is a different race than you is because that informs their experience and therefore their opinion and worldview
and their ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like. So it's not just about checking the box or like meeting the minority quota or like whatever. Like it's much more about having like being able to expand yourself and learn from people's experiences. Like, I don't know. So
I truly believe that, you know,
as you kind of transitioned like through high school, you're starting to find yourself, especially like getting a little more confidence with sports, and you know, you're becoming more like part of the community, finding your friend group, all that stuff. Like you're preparing for college. What was that like looking like as you were looking at college? Where did you want to go? What did you want to do in college?
So because of my insecurities of seeking people's attention, I definitely was not the sharpest tool in the shed or whatever. So during high school, bro, I don't even think I did homework until like right then and there before class. I didn't learn anything really. Not then. I did not take my education seriously. So when it came to college, I was just looking for a college that I can have a party, you know, go have a good time. But my grades weren't there. My grades were absolutely terrible. The only thing that was saving me is that I cheated on the ACT. And I looked at Andrew Johnson's ACT.
I heard about that.
Put me in jail now.
I heard about that story. Yeah, I was going to say, first of all, brave.
He got 1 point higher than me. But I cheated on the ACT, and that's probably what got me into college, like legit. So when I was thinking about college, I was thinking about Kennesaw State up there, and I was also thinking about Georgia State University. I wanted to go to like the University of Miami or to Phoenix University or in ASU, anything that was kind of party oriented. And my mom kept talking about, no, I want you to take a gap year, this, that, and the third. No, I don't want you to go to college right away. You need a break. And I was like, no, I want to go to college. I want to go have a party. I want to go do all this stuff now. Applying to college, I actually got into Georgia State University. I mean, it's not that hard to get in. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go do this. And then my dad was like, okay, well, college isn't for everybody. So just in case, he knows at the time, it might not be the truth now, that most millionaires are made in real estate. Well, yeah, in some form of real estate, they are.
Sure. Yeah.
So he's like, hey, like, go get your real estate license and maybe like try that too, or, you know, have it as a backup. I thought about it. And I was like, I want to be a millionaire. So I went and got my real estate license that senior summer, or going out senior summer, going into freshman college, and grinded 2 months of just studying, 11 days of 11 hours of coursework, just grinded, and I passed. And then I started going to college, but I was commuting. My parents did not want me to live on campus, one, and at this time, this is when we financially started having troubles, and they couldn't really afford it, and I wasn't going to take loans. So we were able to pay for the first semester, but I was just commuting from, if anybody watching this, I was commuting from Roswell, Woodstock area to downtown Atlanta. That's a pain
Yeah.
in the ass.
Yeah. Was
Like,
that like 45 minutes plus?
it's like 45 minutes in the morning, and then in the afternoon, it's like an hour and a half.
Jeez.
So it was wearing on me. I actually met a mentor who is very successful in real estate, and I was trying to, be a mentee on Tuesdays and Thursdays, go to closings, go into open houses, go into all these homes, and all he did was $1 million plus homes. I'm like, you know what? School is not for me. It's never been for me. And later in life, now I realized it wasn't that school wasn't for me, it's that I did not take advantage of it. One, I don't
Yeah.
like the process of school. Okay, I think it needs to change, but I actually do enjoy education. I love education. Like, all I do now is crave education.
Yeah.
But during that time, I was like, the way that they're teaching me is not efficient. So I was like, you know what? My guy's a millionaire, my mentor. I could be a millionaire too. And I dropped out of college the first time. And then I started working with him, and he really wasn't that great of a mentor, not to put him down. He's a great guy, but not a great mentor at the time. He might be now. And then I realized that we were going through such financial difficulties that my brain couldn't really process or focus at, being 18, of trying to be a real estate agent with millionaire clients. Like, it just didn't work out. So I was like, I'm going to take a break from
Mm.
that, and I'm going to figure out what I want to do. And that's kind of how my real estate stopped. And that's how I stopped college the first time.
Okay. And so you're now at this inflection point. You're 18 years old, going on 19. Experimented with the real estate thing, but it's tough to get kind of the legs under you. Also, like, real estate is like a pretty capital intensive thing, right? Like, upstarting, you just need money to get that first whatever property, whether you're a flipper or you're going to do like Airbnbs or whatever it is. And this was kind of like
Yep.
almost like early age Airbnb, I guess, time wise. But so you're looking at like just taking a step back, and then you're living at home at this point. Are you working? You're not a college student.
No, I'm living at home. I'm living at home, chilling, going to gym every day. That's about it.
Okay.
At
And
that
then
time.
yeah. And in that time, so like, what was the next step? Like, what were you doing for work? And then what was kind of that next breakthrough? Did you choose to go back to school?
I chose to go back to school. Not that semester. So that semester I didn't go back, and actually, hold on. Sorry, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Because that was 2018. Because I dropped out, and then that was not the fall. That was, that net semester, I because that was 2018. I did decide to go back because I dropped out early in the beginning of the fall semester, early, right before midterm. So I
Okay.
dropped out. I had like a terrible GPA because they're all Fs. I should have withdrawn from all my classes, but I
Yeah.
didn't know because a guidance counselor didn't talk to me. I should have went to one, and I've had some, and it carried over. So I decided to go to Perimeter in Alpharetta.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Let me go back. Let me start here. Let me just, get my feet under this and see what I wanted to do. Like, I
Right.
really did like law. My dad went to law school. I was like, maybe I'll be a lawyer. I don't know. And I started going, and I had to get grants this time. And we couldn't afford gas, really, driving from Roswell, Woodstock to Alpharetta, which is not a far distance, about 20-minute drive. But going every day kind of was a burden. Like, at this point in 2018, all the money was kind of gone when it came to my family situation. And what I did, by the grace of God, I got a grant to pay for college, but instead I took that money and I used it to, buy groceries and buy waters and pay a couple bills of my family during that time. I guess that was the first time I was any real help to my family. So that
Yeah.
was the next chapter. And then pretty much from there, from let's just say the beginning of 2018 to August of 2019 was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just a bunch of sitting in a house, playing video games, working out, praying to God that something changed. Now, we don't have to get too deep in like that, because on that side is my parents' side. They could have done other stuff to help out or whatever the case may be. But if anybody knows me, I had a really nice life. I drove a Mercedes in high school, a brand new one. My parents had nice Mercedes. We had money coming in. I lived in super nice houses growing up. And then it kind of all went to zero, right? And I really thank God for that time and my relationship with him, because it was brutal. Like being 19, 18, coming from where you have money every day to like not having $10 in your pocket was really difficult. I built a lot of my relationship with Christ during that time because it was so strenuous. All I could do was take my dog out for a walk because my brain was so consumed with what is going to happen. What is going to happen? Walking every day, my dog, just praying, asking my mom to pray. Like we're all just praying for the best. We ended up starting, I would post things on Craigslist like couches, refrigerators, whatever we had, I would post, and nothing would sell until we absolutely needed the money. It was all aligned by God. When we needed a certain amount of cash, it's like that thing sold and was able to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. It was just a time of like, I didn't know what we were going to do. And I'm not a man. Like I'm a man, right, at 18, but I'm not a man. Like I'm just a young guy. Just I wanted to party. I wanted to experience, a sinful life that I really shouldn't have been craving, right? I should have been craving God, should have been craving being a real man and wondering what's next. I felt like my youth was sort of taken away from me in a little bit because of that situation. Actually, I would say my childhood was taken away from me. The end of my childhood, which is okay. I was going to become a man anyways. But from that point, at the in the beginning of August, we haven't been paying rent for months. We're getting evicted. Don't know what to do. The cars got repoed. Like literally, there's no more cars. We live in a house, no cars, don't know where to live. My mom called my aunt and just pretty much was like, "Do you have a room?" She lives here in Dallas.
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, a woman that my mom never even met, who lives in, I think, Puerto Rico, was able to help provide some cash to be able to. We bought a $1,000 car from one of my best friends, $1,000, and a U-Haul. We packed everything, and we drove to Dallas, man.
Damn.
It was like that.
Did your younger brother Trexton come along with you?
No, and that was hard. That was hard because Tretson was in sports. Tretson had a different high school experience than me. He's been loved. He was always loved. He had, other different races of friends. Like that whole classes behind us are completely different than ours and above.
Yeah.
And he was a junior. So he didn't know what he was going to do. By the grace of God, I'll actually bring him up. The McMickles paid for his school, and I'll never forget them. Now, I don't I don't think he spoke to them in a long time, but I told him a couple weeks ago he needs to reach out to them because how grateful he needs to be still that he was able to be with his friends. He lived with a different family for 10 months. It was so, it was difficult. It was very difficult because there's nothing that I could do to help my family at that time.
Yeah.
Like where we lived, I'm not sure if we lived in Litchfield, if anybody knows where that is. You can walk to somewhere, but bro, it's going to take you a couple of hours to get to anywhere that it's going to make any sense for me to work.
Right.
And I had no idea what to do, bro. I had a mental breakdown before we moved for 3 to 4 days. I couldn't even speak in like my own voice. It was kind of like accents the whole time. It was something, and I know it sounds crazy to people, but it's kind of like my mind like broke down. And I couldn't even talk like this. Like I was using different accents. And before that, I had so much fear and anxiety that I lost 20 pounds I felt so sick that I went to the emergency room. I was like having terrible bowel situations. My heart was beating at such a rate, it was insane. Once I found out in the emergency room that I was fine, my heart rate dropped back to normal and I started feeling a little bit okay. But the stress was so much that I couldn't even see really like 30 yards ahead of me. Everything was getting blurry. Like, I don't really think about this that much more anymore, but it was a lot as a kid. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like that day we drove from Atlanta to Dallas, like my childhood died. It
Yeah.
died.
I
And even
mean,
when we got there, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it's almost like very symbolic. I feel like it's like leaving like that moment, moving to Dallas is like it's leaving all that trauma behind, right? Like
Oh yeah,
because this is like what we're about to get into is that next chapter, like where everything kind of changed.
man. You know what? I'm grateful for it. You know,
Yeah.
they say diamonds, they're built by pressure. You know, gold is molded in the fire, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay. I'm okay with going through the pain, through the sacrifice for the glory. Like, that's just what it is. You know, to be a man, you gotta persevere. It's not easy being a man, a real man. It's easy being a boy out here. There's men that are 52 years old and still little kids. Like, the older you get, the more you realize that. Even when we got to Texas, dude, 250 miles out from uh, my aunt's house, our car's tire exploded on the highway on a Sunday when there's no tow trucks and nothing open at like 4 p.m. By the grace of God, eventually someone did come out and we were able to get a used tire and make it out, and car smoking, man. I'm telling, like, not trying to say like, oh, my life was so great before, but like my mom was driving like an $80,000 car. So to go from that to like $1,000 car, that's a
No,
big,
yeah, it's insane. It's
big,
complete juxtaposition.
oh my God, it was terrible. And then we move in with someone I do consider like not stable. I'm not gonna call her crazy. My aunt, where her son just got out of prison, and then her second son just went to jail. Like, and now there's one, two, three, four, five, six people living in a 3-bedroom place and a dog, and that was terrible. Um, but then it starts my next chapter when I start working for Subaru. So I
But yeah,
can go into that if you want.
yeah, no, you touch down in Dallas, you're cramped into this temporary living situation, hopefully temporary, right? But like you guys have no
We're
means.
homeless.
Yeah, you're homeless,
Homeless.
like there's no money coming in, but I mean, this is like you kind of alluded to, it's like you're forced to become a man, right? Like whether you wanted to or not, you're 18, 19 years old and it's like, okay, like for some people it's 23 when you step out of school, like that's when you go out on your own for the first time, but like I'm looking left and right and like nobody's going to make the change but me. So like I need to be the man right now. And so you step into this new job as like at the Subaru dealership. I'm curious, did you choose that intentionally? Like, did you know, like, or was it just like, fuck it, like they'll pay me, like this is the first job I'll get?
So I'm like, okay, look, I'm like, all right, what can I do? For a couple of days, I'm like, all right, look, I'm here in Texas. I need to work. I need some cash. I need to do something. Already the first couple of days, like it's family issues too. My dad's having issues, obviously, as a man. He's having a breakdown. Moving in with this unstable woman is also terrible for our family. I'm living in the same room as my little sister on an air mattress. And I'm like, what can I do, man? I got to get out of this. The day before we left, I went to the Marine recruiters and they were trying. Obviously, they're recruiters. That's their job. And once we got to Texas, I'm like, okay, let me get my life straight. Maybe I join the Marines and then I go over there. I come back. I have college paid for. I go to the University of Texas. I'll go play football. I'll be 24, probably ripped, whatever. And I'll get into journaling, journalism, and maybe I'll become a network guy on something. Because I do have a big personality. It's like I probably can make it, whatever. But I'm like, okay, in the meantime, before I make this decision, let me give myself, because it's August, let me give myself 5 months to make some money before I go in January. And I was like, okay, well, let me apply. I'm applying to anything like Home Depot, Target, Walmart, blah, blah, blah. Home Depot actually called. I go, I get the job, but like they said, we'll reach out to you for a drug test. That drug test, like they never reached out. It took 2 weeks for them to reach out. I'm like, okay, well, let me keep applying. My dad, well, I felt like as a family, we had such great times going to the car dealership to get a brand new car. As a kid, I'm like, we go to the car dealership, we're getting a car. And I was like, let me apply to like Mercedes and Ford. And I'm like, I feel like this would be so much fun. Like, oh my God, this would be great. I'll be a salesman, whatever. I think my dad applied for me to go to Subaru because I don't remember applying. I literally was on the phone with another GM of like Hyundai and Kia or whatever. And I get a call in the meantime, and I finish that interview. I pick it up, and it's this guy named W.E. Fowler, like super country, like, hey, man, you want to come work over here? I call him back, and I go and I interview. And, dude, I don't know if you remember, I had long red hair, big hair. And I wore a blue suit. I came in there. I was like, oh, my God, like, this is amazing. Like, cars, I love it. I don't even know what a speedometer is at the time. I couldn't tell you how to find miles on your car. So I know nothing, zero. I couldn't tell you what a good tire looked like from a bad tire unless it was blown out. I get the job. I start, and that was absolutely hell. When I say, like, I thought I was living in hell, I thought I was living in hell. Texas was hot as hell. I'm standing outside all the time. I don't know how to sell cars. I don't know how to talk to people that aren't my age. I'm getting screamed at all the time for messing up. Dude, I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to use a computer properly to answer people, call people. I was afraid to call people, email people, text people. And for 3 months, those managers made my life a living hell. And the customers made my life hell. Because I didn't know how to sell. So like being with a customer was scary. I'm always nervous. I'm always sweaty. Like, and it's called a draw where you get a certain amount of money a month, but you owe that money back to the dealership. So if you don't make that money on top of it,
like in commission,
you're just owing yeah. So like I wasn't making any commission. I'm just making what we call draw. So I was making, I think, $2,500 a month. But at that time, $2,500 was amazing.
Yeah.
So
right.
That helped out a little bit because we were at her house, my aunt's house, for 2 months. And then I started seeing just a little bit of commission. And a bid situation happened with my aunt and her son who came out of prison, whatever, a whole ordeal. And we were like, we got to go. We got to find something. So we packed the car, a rental car, because the BMW was in the shop. Obviously, it was $1,000 car. It's in the shop. We just pack our cars with everything we had, the rental car, and we're driving around, just wondering, like, where are we going to go? And I know this place looked really nice by the dealership, and my mom was like, it would be nice to live there. So we went there. I was the only one who had decent credit, right? It was really no credit, fresh credit. And they had terrible credit because of the whole ordeal. And I got the apartment under my name. So that was my first apartment and the first time, like, I'm taking care of my family. But now I had such a stress over me because now I'm tied to, at that time, it was $1,400 a month. And like, that was inconceivable to me. Like, how am I going to be able to make this with food and everything? And it was tough. Like I was seeing a little bit of progress, just a little bit of progress. And this time in 2019, December, I was like, I'm getting tired of being screamed at all day. Like I'm being screamed at more than my coaches screamed at me. This is like your coaches scream at you to work and do better. These guys are screaming at you because they hate you. The thing about the car business, bro, they won't teach you anything until they like you, until you prove that you can sell cars. If you can prove that you can sell cars on your own, they're like, oh, he's not that bad. Let me teach him. it's kind of like it's twisted. I was like, you know what? It's December 2019. I'm like, I'm tired of this. I need to make money for my family. My dad's not working. My mom's not working. I'm sleeping on an air mattress with my sister in the same room. She's not on the air. She's on her own bed. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wake up every day at 7:30, 7. I'm going to go to work, be there 30 minutes early at 8. I'm not leaving till 9 or 9:30.
PM.
Because the way that Subaru dealerships work is they're open all day, which is terrible. But for every day, I didn't take an off day except Christmas. From December 1st to December 31st, I was there. And guess what? I sold cars and I made money and I proved everybody wrong. And everybody was like, oh my God, like this kid finally, showed something. And I made enough money that I felt a little bit better and we were in a little bit better situation. And then throughout 2020 up until July 2020, yeah, I was their best salesman. I was tired of being defeated. I was like, I'm going to make money regardless. I'm going to be here regardless. My parents weren't working still up until that point. And the grace of God, man, like I was able to provide. And then I just got sick and tired of, they weren't yelling at me anymore because they loved me at that point. But I was tired of being there all day, every day, dealing with the same crap. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to make this same money, like I didn't know that I could make more money. I didn't even think it was possible. At that time, I was pacing like $80,000 a year. And I was like, if I'm going to make this money, I would rather sell nicer cars and have less hours. At least give me some time to myself. I had no friends anyways, but I wanted at least to be able to spend time more with my family. The lease was up, so we moved to Frisco, and then I was looking for a job, and a buddy of mine at the Ford store next to me had actually sold cars at this store, and he knew the owner and got an interview set up, and I got the job. I saw the cars. Like I walk in there, and there's like a 2017 911, and it's like, that Sahara Desert color on Jeeps. It was the same color. I was like, oh, I got to work here. I got to work here. And then I started there. And at this point, rent was way more because now we had 3 bedrooms and my brother's still in Georgia at this point. But like finally, I get my own room to myself and I have no air mattress anymore. I slept on an air mattress for 10 months that deflated every day. Like when I tell you I grinded and like I have probably issues with my back now because of it, but God provided. So past that point, I'm like, okay, I get there. I don't know how to sell used cars. I know I sell new cars like the back of my hand at the time. Like I had it down to a science. But used cars is a lot different. Stuff goes wrong. There's this, there's that. It's a bunch of crap. And that was hell for the first 3 months, just like Subaru. But I was making a lot more money. I was like, okay, well, this sucks really bad, but I'm making a ton of money. Well, not a ton at the time, but I was making good money. And that same December, now it's a year later, December 2020, and I'm like, all right, bro, I need to get out of this rat race. I'm in a rat race like every time. I need to make more money. My family's still relying on me. And I have no friends. I got to grind. And in December, I killed it. In January, I killed it. And then all of 2021, I was just murdering, just absolutely slaying. And I decided that, hey, look, well, if I'm going to be here all day still, I need to get better at my words and my craft. And I just wanted to become an assassin with my tongue. That's how I looked at it. Hey, if you're going to buy a McLaren, a 911 or something, you're going to buy it from me, right? Someone else can be the worst salesman you ever had, but you're going to buy a car from me. And that's how I always looked at it. And I just got so good. And thanks to my friend really helped me out because by going there, I started actually having friendships and we went out and not saying everybody do this, but I had nothing. I didn't party. I didn't do anything. He actually we went and party a little bit and it kind of like took this burden off of me where I was like, well, now I can have some relationships and work. My parents got jobs by the grace of God. And dude, 2021 was just killer. Absolutely killer.
Yeah, so I want to quickly wind back. So it both like back at Subaru when you kind of flipped that mental switch, and then the same thing when you got to the exotic car dealership where you're like fuck it, I'm gonna ball, like I'm gonna be the man, like I'm gonna make this happen. That's really important to have that moment where you switch the or flip the switch. But I'm curious what actually enabled you to get better, like other than just spending hours. Obviously they say the best way to get better at sales is try to sell, because you start to pick up on the small stuff, but that's super like smashing your head against a wall until it like
Yeah.
breaks. Like were you doing reading, were you like reaching out to salespeople, YouTube videos? Like how did you build your actual like craft? Like how did you sharpen that axe?
That's a good question. The first time I was just YouTube maniac. Like, okay, well, let me see what these guys are saying. And at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I can do some of this. And then I practiced techniques, and the techniques help and the hours help. So just a pure hustle helped the first time. The second time, the way that this dealership was run, the best can talk. That's just it. The best can speak and clearly communicate to the customer what needs to happen, right? If I can communicate to you, and I can absolutely take your desires, your needs, your wants, your emotions, figure out what you need, what's your hot buttons, like I'm going to sell you a car. Maybe this is not a guarantee, but for the most part. So I realized, okay, look, I have this manager that he's closes deals, like master closer on the phone. And now during this time period, a lot of internet sales were happening in 2020. That's when the transition was happening because of COVID and everything. I said, okay, well, I'm going to be a master closer over the phone. I'm going to make this guy who I can't see, I'm not FaceTiming, which I can now, but I wasn't at the time. I'm going to make him like me. And I realized that, okay, if I act like I'm this guy that, hey, I'm this, a little bit of ego, a little bit of courage, and don't tell my parents, a little bit of swearing, all mixed into like a cocktail, I was going to kill it. And I actually told a sales guy that I know, hey, bro, when you talk on the phone, act like you got a beer in your hand. Like, it's just the vibe. And I realized that in December, that if I hustle on the phone and use that kind of ego and bravado, I was going to be able to close. At this time, I think I just took from, he kind of was like a mentor to me, but I took a little bit of him and a little bit of me and added it together. So that was a mental switch that I guess I analyzed.
Yeah.
And I realized, hey, let's try this.
Dude, that's very perceptive of you. Just to like be able to like watch the craft and not, because so many people, I think in any job, you know, you can look at your boss or even your coworker and you're just like, damn, like they're so good at their job, or they're so much better than me. Like I want to be like them. But I think it takes a special perspicacity to be like, but why are they good? And how can I be like that? And then actually pick up on it and then implement it. I mean, like, it's very impressive. I think like I'm becoming, as I'm trying to like build business for myself, like learning about sales is a whole new world, right? Like I come from this technical background of engineering. So I feel like I have my feet set there, but like learning to sell, it really is an art. And it is, I've always felt like a good communicator, but it's such a unique form of communication because it very is like, it's customer centric, right? You want to hear from somebody their story and then be able to clearly articulate their pains, desires, all that stuff back to them. And that's how like you make sales. So super impressive. I mean, I think this stuff's very fascinating. So that's why I asked.
Hey, it's awesome. Sales is awesome. And you'll always have to sell. I don't care what you do. You got to sell. Well, you know what I realized too? Some of the best pieces of advice it's not selling the customer, it's selling your coworkers. So with a car deal, there's a lot involved that I don't need to go into. Maybe in a later time, I can talk about cars and break it down. But you have to go back to the manager, get these deals done, figure out service and a bunch of different stuff. When I realized I could sell my coworkers, then everything really did change. Now stuff was getting done quicker for me. I could communicate to my manager. I could manipulate him. Sometimes that was a bad thing. Sometimes that was a good thing for me. And learning how to persuade and to sell value is very important. Sometimes you need persuasion, With some people think that like car sales is all persuasion. No, it's not. A lot of it's value. The persuasion comes with different aspects. Like just it does. And I realized that I could sell anything. And trust me, I did sell stuff that I shouldn't have been selling in 2021. Sorry, my dog is messing around.
No, you're good.
I feel like I could really do anything with sales. Like I could sell water, a water bottles on the road and be a killer at it. I could sell mud on tires. Like that's how I really do feel. So when it comes to sales, if my advice to anybody is get a little bit of ego, get a little bit of swag first. Don't be too cocky, but once you get a little bit of confidence, it's probably the best word. Everything else will come a little bit easier. Everything else.
Yeah, like walk into a sales kind of meeting with the confidence that you are going to be successful at the end versus like, oh, now I have to convince somebody. But like, it's more like I already convinced them, or the sale is going to happen. That's why they're here kind of thing.
Absolutely. Like imagine somebody comes in on a car and they're like, oh, it's all right, but I don't really like it. I used to be like, oh, you don't like it? Now I'm like, you don't like this car? Like, what do you mean? So it's just it was a little bit difference of perspective and mental fortitude that you have to change. You got to change. You got to pivot. I love this word that's because this podcast with 3 athletes, pivot. It's been such a vital word to me because I've had to pivot in life that you got to pivot your mindset. Point of like, your whole thing is about becoming a real man. It really is. That's how I look at it. Becoming the man that you're meant to be in all aspects of your life, business, health and whatnot. You got to be able to pivot and shift your mindset into that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think adaptability is huge. And because that's like the measure. I mean, like if you even like take it to athletics, I think it's an easy example always. Like if someone's like, oh, who's the best athlete of all time? And you start to break that argument down, a lot of people are like, well, if you dropped him in another sport, he would be trash. But that is like what makes a great athlete. Like if you are truly athletic, then you are gifted and a bit like able to adapt. Like if I put you on a baseball field, a football field, a basketball field, like you would perform. And so in life, like you can't control what's going to happen to you. Like it is a complete and utter like crapshoot. You can control. There's literally the only thing you control is yourself. And so it's like, how can I respond to what is given to me? Because you couldn't, especially as an 18-year-old, like you didn't even know all the stuff building up before the floor got pulled out from under you. Like, right. Like you can't control your parents' decisions. And when like that goes to shit, it's like, well, all I can control is like how I, Trevor, as an 18, 19-year-old kid, like can react to it. Right. Like a lot of that is like learning by trial and error. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of anxiety. And like, I'm sure if you could go back, you would do things differently. That's actually one question I wanted to ask. Yeah. So now you're in a place, right? Like you're living alone, like you're a self-sustained man. You're like, the story's recovered. This is like over the hill kind of thing. A lot more to build. Obviously, I'm sure you have goals and aspirations great beyond where you are now. But I'm curious if you could go back to 18-year-old Trevor and like give him a piece of advice or tell him something and or make a decision along the journey differently, what would that be?
That's really good, man. Because I know you do this too. Like I could feel it. You lay back in your bed at night and you're like, okay, well, let me get back to 14 and think about what could I've done differently. It's such a good mental exercise. Like, okay, well, if I did this differently, maybe this aspect of my life. A recent thing that I would have done differently was how I left my parents. I left my parents in January. When I say that to everybody, I just mean I moved out. And I did it for the wrong reason. I have a girlfriend that we've been in a relationship for a year, and she lived in Vegas, and she was kind of moving here, but didn't really have a place yet. And I was like, I can afford a place. Let me go get a place. I got a place in Dallas, and we moved in, and I kind of had a bad, ending with my parents at the time. We're very good now. And I made a terrible decision because I just quit Earth, which is I still love the place, the exotic car dealership. And I kind of started my own thing, moved out into my own place for the first time ever. I'm like in college, you can get used to it. right? And you can be like, okay, well, I'm out and I'm in the real world. It's easier. I didn't go to college. I didn't live in college, so I had no idea. And I moved in with a girl. Bro, that was chaotic.
Yeah.
So that's a recent thing that I would have changed. We're still together, and now I do live alone. But I would say the first thing right there, just recently for everybody out there, is to weigh your decisions. Like, don't be emotional about your decisions all the time. Even if it's emotional, you kind of got to pull yourself out of it. Now, if I jump back to 18 Trevor, if I had to say, okay, you just graduated, I would have to go before I graduated. I would have to go back to, let's say, the beginning of senior year. At this point, my grades are done. Like, hey, it ain't gonna work, buddy. I would tell him, hey, cool, go ahead and get your real estate license if you want to. It's gonna make you mentally tougher. That's for sure. It's gonna help your progress and realize you want education. And it actually taught me that I can learn. I can learn. I know that sounds stupid to people, but I felt like I couldn't absorb knowledge because I just didn't want to. My advice would be to him is, hey, pray. Pray, man. If you want to get a little job, go ahead and do it. Just be strong. Just be tough. Don't be weak. And that doesn't mean don't be sad. Don't cry. That doesn't mean that. I want to cry. Like, bro, I still cry. I don't care. Just be strong, be a man, be there for your family. And when you get to Texas, realize you're going to take it and be okay taking it. Once you're okay taking that ass whooping and getting back up, that's when you know. Like, anybody who hasn't been punched in the face by life yet, you're going to get punched in the face. You'll be punched in the face later in life, maybe in a couple of days. I just got punched in the throat. Like,
Yeah.
So just for people out there, I just lost $9,000 on a car. Like, that's terrible. I wanted to cry. I did cry. I felt like the world was ending on me. That's a lot of cash. But now I'm good, man. I'm smiling. I'm here. Just be a man, or if any women are watching, just be the woman. Be the dog, right? I think about, it's funny because you always post them. A lot of people do too. I've always loved Kobe. Always loved Kobe. And one thing when I go back, I'm like, okay, let me watch some videos or inspiration and stuff. And I love how, like, Kobe's mindset is always like, there's no motivation. I just want to be the best. Even when you don't want to do it, I'm just going to do it, right? I'm going to go out there and practice, wake up early, do all this stuff. And that's what I've done. You know, once I got here to Texas, bro, I don't want to work. I still don't want to work. I just want to go, you know, be with my girlfriend, drink margaritas all day. Don't want to work out, want to be shredded, right? But at the same time, I have to do it. No one else out here is going to provide for me. If I don't wake up and get to work, I'm not going to make any money. And I actually kind of like that now, that I'm my own boss. First of all, that's amazing. Let me tell you that. Being your own boss or working for somebody who's awesome, this is going to be the greatest decision you can make once you can, you know, financially have that situation happen, that opportunity. But if you don't get up and you don't get it, get out. Seriously, figure it out, because no one else is going to give it to you. You can try to take the easy life. The easy life only, bro, it's like it looks sunny down that road, easy. And then guess what? You start getting down there and it's haunted. It's dark. It's crazy. Like, it's not easy. There's nothing easy in life. And I realized that when all that shit happened. Like, I was taking the coasting road, bro. I was on the beach in high school. That's how I looked at it. And then it all smacked me in the face. Just anybody out there who's younger or who's in a situation you cannot control, do not put that on you. Like, it's not you. Yeah, life's gonna suck. Life kind of sucks and life is great at the same time, bro. We live in a sinful world. Like, we know it's gonna suck. But enjoy it too. Advice I would say is to enjoy, like, that I should have done more. Even though I was going through all that hardship, I should have enjoyed a little bit more, just a little bit more. Because I wasn't doing anything. enjoy your time, enjoy your relaxing, enjoy your youth, even if it's difficult. Do your best to find the rose, man. Do your best to find the flowers, because it's not always like that.
Damn, bro, you got me ready to run through a wall. That shit was gas. That's crazy. No, I think, I mean, obviously, I completely agree with kind of everything you said there. I mean, I think anyone who's interested in, you know, becoming the best version of themselves is, certainly for me, it's like building this business and trying to be an entrepreneur. Like, you have to, yeah, it's like that like eat what you kill. Like, if you don't wake up and do it, like nobody's gonna do it for you. Like, I love that shit. I literally, it's why like I chose, even in the short term, like while I'm still working for somebody else, like, which is obviously something I'm working to change, right? But like, I joined a startup because there's so much work to do. Like, I can't come in and not do my fucking job, because like there's only 4 of us there. Like, we have to do the work, or nobody's going to do it for you. Like, in my previous internship experiences, that was like the stuff that I came to loathe. It's like, it's nice to work at a bigger company because you can just sit back and like, if I don't show up to work or if I show up to work and do nothing, like I literally can sit at my computer and read fucking PDFs of books, and that's okay. Yeah. And the company doesn't fail. Like, that's a horrible feeling. Like, waking up every day knowing that like no one's going to do it for you it's like that. It's like the concept of like eustress versus distress. Like, it's a stressor for sure, but it's like a positive. It like forces you towards something good.
Yeah. Stress is for sure good. And obviously if they're listening to you, they understand that a little bit of stress is good. You need to have stress in your life to be able to do anything. Because if there's no stress, you're not going to do it. You're just not going to do it. If you get paid too much for doing something easy, you're not going to do it, right? Like, being at an office job, obviously I don't have that experience, but I can understand kind of what you're saying. If I'm just going to coast through life, you're just going to have a miserable time. You might think it's great, and it could be great for a little bit, like enjoy it, but you're not going to succeed doing that, you know? Like, you felt that. You're like, okay, well, you know what? This is easy, but it's not meaningful to me. Being a startup and doing something that's going to be hard, you're going to look back and be like, man, I'm so glad I did that shit.
Exactly.
I'm so glad I went through it.
And I think you hit exactly on the head. It's not because you're not getting the reward. Like, you can be financially successful, but it's that meaningfulness, right? It's like, it's knowing deep down inside yourself. Like, you can tell people at dinner parties, like, oh yeah, like I work at, you know, Bain Consulting, and like I do a lot of work, and like I get paid, or I'm an investment banker, whatever. Like, you make a lot of money, you work for this big company, you can feel good, like you can gas it up and like to other people, but like deep down, when you're alone with yourself, you know that like, I didn't do jack shit on Thursday. Like, I came into the office, I clicked around Excel sheets, like sent a couple emails, like that was nothing. And like, so many of my peers, my previous experience in internships, like that is people's lives. And like, there's probably people listening to this too that like work that kind of job. And my encouragement wouldn't be like, just go and quit your job. Like, you have a life to provide for. But also look for ways to make your life meaningful. If it's not going to be the job, that's fine. Like, stay in the job, but like, give back to your community, like do volunteer work, or pour into somebody that is younger than you, like become a mentor, or go coach something. Find something that will give you that fulfillment, because the fulfillment isn't going to come from getting that 2-year raise, like getting 10 extra K on your salary and just like continuing to coast in your job. Like, that isn't going to make you feel better. Like, it'll make your like life a little more comfortable, but like, comfort is that complacency is
comfort's the enemy. That's the enemy. You know it. We all know it. Comfort's the enemy. We want to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Like, that's really it. And let me tell everybody out there who has a salary job, it's all bullshit until you get to the bid dot level anyways. $12,000 raise is only $1,000 a month. Like, it's not going to change your life. So if I'm out there and if I have a goal, then hey, do your thing. If you know you want to be the top of the investment banking chain, like, do your thing. But if you're like, you know what, I can go out here and do it myself, and I'm financially in a situation where I can start my own firm, go do that. But you can be okay having a small business and being very successful, right? I'm very small, tiny on the map, but I love it, right? And then I have dreams of getting bigger. I have dreams of moving out of my field. And people need to have a plan. I spoke to a girl yesterday who's 38 years old. Has been to job after job after job, fired, quit, left, decided to not even show up. And I'm talking to her and I said, hey, I'm not trying to put you down here, but you're telling me this whole story. It sounds like you have no plan, right? And I said, she was like, you know what? I don't have a plan. I was like, yeah, I can tell. Go home, figure out what's your first year, like your expenses. Start with your basic life needs. What's your expenses? And then figure out what do you want to do? And then figure out how much money you need to save to get there. And then do it. And then figure out what's phase 2. Like people don't even have a phase 1. You have a phase 1 for sure, right? You know you want to be at this startup company, fulfill a role, receive income, receive knowledge, start up your own company, which you're already doing, and then be very successful at what you're doing and help people. Everybody's goal should be at the end of the day to help people. And people don't even know that. People are selfish. If you have no plan, you're probably selfish. Legit. You don't know what you're doing, going through life, not doing shit. That can't be us. That's not a man, right?
Yeah. Dude, that's actually one of the questions I wanted to get to. I've been trying to like develop like a good like closer and stuff I always want to ask people so that like people one-to-one, and even if I have people back on the podcast, I can ask again. So one of the questions I already talked about, the younger self, the one thing you would do differently or what you would tell them. So another one is, in your eyes, what defines being a man?
Oh, let's see. Being a man is not complex. There's a lot of things that you have to do to be a man, but it's all simple. Like, be a good person, right? Provide for your family, provide for yourself. But really what makes a man is both spots. It's not just your mind and it's not just your heart. It's together. It's your soul. You got to bring it together. And to be a man, you have to be honest. You got to be honest with yourself, with your family, with anybody who comes in contact with you. By doing that, you're able to understand yourself, to get out of whatever situation you're in, to get into a better situation, to figure out life's bunch of bullshit, right? To figure out who's going to be the woman of your dreams. That's hard, man. Being honest with yourself is hard. And that's probably where a man is built, right? Men go and die on wars every day. And they were honest with themselves when they join the military and they go over there, wherever they are, and it's time to fight. They ask themselves a question for sure. Am I ready to die today for my country? That's an honest question. And those are men, right? And if you're over here and you're not doing shit with your life, you are failing to ask yourself a question. You are lying to yourself. I think that we can break it down more, but being honest with yourself and pivoting is definitely what makes a man. Be honest with yourself. Are you a fat fuck? Come on. Am I lazy? Do I not want to do the dishes? Can I not just make chicken, rice, and broccoli just tonight, right? Can I go and get up and work? Nah, work is too tough. Oh my God, this tastes terrible. Stop lying to yourself, right? Just be honest. Just be honest. Hey, it does suck. I don't want to eat chicken tonight. I don't want to eat broccoli, whatever. But you got to ask yourself the question. So men today are not honest with themselves. A lot of men are lying to themselves, even about, like, you know, it gets into politics, but the female perspective, like a lot of people do, men do a lot of things just for women, but they lie to themselves, right? So if you're going to be a man, step one is be honest with yourself, because then that's going to change your life.
Damn. That's a great answer. And I did not prep you at all with any questions. So I'm very impressed that it was that concise. And I mean, yeah, dude, I think it's something I took the last 2 weeks off making this podcast because I'm like prepping the material for my course as we're getting closer to launch. And in week 1, I talk about, you know, steps to be successful in the course. And one of the main things I talk about is be honest with yourself. You have to look critically in the mirror and say, like, wherever I am, whether I feel like I'm in a good place and like I'm already like a high performer, or like you said, I'm a fat fuck and I want to figure this thing out and like there's some shit I need to fix. Like, you have to tell yourself that. Nobody's going to like answer that for you. And then the second step of that honesty, especially within this program, is like be honest with others. Like be honest to the accountability circle you have around you. Say like,
Absolutely.
hey guys, honestly, like I said at the beginning of this thing, like I was going to go with like no cheat meals. And last night I binged when I went out with my friends. Like I missed it, but tomorrow I'm back on the horse. But like, if you're not honest with those people and you just hide that, like they can't make you better and you can't make you better because you're not like confident enough to put yourself out there and be honest. And so honesty, yeah, like it's a two-way street. I think it's like critically important to be honest with yourself first. You have to look in the mirror and be like, who the fuck am I? What do I want to be? And why am I not him right now? And what is it going to take to become him? And then when you're starting to build that circle of people around you, tell those people when you fall short. Like it's like an admittance. It's an ego death, right? You have to like admit like, hey, I missed it. I missed it, but like, I'm going to try harder next time. And then you'd be surprised when you lead with authenticity and honesty, other people will reciprocate that. Like when somebody shares like a moment of weakness, especially as men, right? Because there's this like idea of bravado, and when you're surrounded by other high performing men, it's like everyone wants to be the alpha. I think that isn't a negative thing necessarily. It's just it's masculine. It's like you're driven to be better. So
which is good. That's okay.
Exactly, and I think it's necessary. But you need to know that, and you need to be consciously aware and say like, okay, when I lead with authenticity and say like I'm around a bunch of like killers and I fucked up, if you say that, like people will be like, damn, like that's a dude who's confident because he's showing a weakness and he's not like trying to hide it away because like somebody will stab a chink at the armor. You're just saying like, this is my circle. This is my wolf pack. Here's where I failed. I'm letting you know now. I'm going to fix it. And like that will be reciprocated far and beyond what you can expect.
Yeah. Understand your weakness, right? Understand your flaws. It's okay. It's okay. I'll tell people, look, I've wanted to kill myself twice in my life. Once this year and once when the trial, I call it the trial, when my family lost it all. And for those two times that I thought about like just wanting to end it all was in a day. It all was like one day. And then I was like, you know what, that was a bunch of bullshit, right? That was a bunch of feminineness in me. Not saying anything to females, but I'm just saying that it's a bunch of weak pussy ass shit that you just got to realize that, look, you're going to suffer and be okay with it. Know your flaws, right? Know where you messed up. Be honest, get up, and a new day starts. It is okay to cry for a day. It is okay to be sad. It is okay to mourn. Like, look, when I sold that car and I lost all that money, I mourned the next day. Like, I let that car have his own funeral. Like, I'm okay with it, bro. Sometimes it's actually I think it's healthy to be like, I'm just gonna be emotional as fuck today. Like, don't take it out on anybody else. Realize, hey, when your girlfriend, if she breaks up with you, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be sad. That's why you do need a group of men and like what you're trying to build, which is completely awesome. And you're trying to absolutely put great men or even dudes who aren't men yet, get in here. Just like get in, get tight. And it's okay, because if we share our emotions, our feelings, someone's going to build you up. Someone's going to help you. Someone's going to put their hand out there and grab you back up. It's okay to be like that. That's about being honest. Be honest with yourself. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel depressed, but get after it. Stop being depressed. I know it is hard to say that. Let me tell you right now. It's hard. I've been depressed a little bit. I'm a super happy guy. Super. Just, you got to get after it. You got to realize that, hey, stuff is going to happen and you're not going to be ready for it. Your mom, your dad, health, your family, you might not be able to pay your bills next month. And my honest, like me being honest to this community, I would my first thing is to go to God, right? Once you go to God, and I'm talking about Jesus Christ, who is my Lord and Savior and my King. Like, once I realized, like, hey, he's got all the control, bro. I've been homeless. Like, I've been homeless, bro. It's going to work out. It's going to be okay. You might not want to smile. It's okay to cry, but eventually get after it. Any of those college kids who have anxiety about performing, it's going to be fine. You're going to be like, you're not going to die because of you learn too much, and get good grades, push through it. Anybody who has a terrible boss, I'll be the first to tell you that sucks, but you're going to have to keep working. Be honest. It's okay to be emotional. Figure out your plan and attack. That's it.
Love that, dude. And then one last question. I'm a huge quote guy. Obviously, you can see on the page, like, I post quotes all the time. And I think it's a great place to, they're really concise pieces of wisdom that we can pull from people both alive and past. So I'm like obsessed with quotes, maybe to my detriment sometimes. So I'm curious, what's one quote that's always stuck with you, or like been something you go back to or you try to live by on the day-to-day? Maybe something that you went to in that moment during the trial, or something that you posted on a wall or wrote on a note card and said, like, this is like my calling card. Like, I'm not going to give up.
I think I have one right here. Let me check real quick. I might not. I write them down sometimes, because back to what we're talking about, I'm not huge on motivation. Like, I know that, hey, sometimes I'm going to be motivated. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I love self-help stuff, and sometimes I'm like, I just can't listen to it. And that's okay to get into it sometimes and sometimes not to. Hold on. I can't find it. Let me think of one that I've really attributed to my life. Man, I don't think I'm such a huge quote guy. I'm more of like a people guy. So, Kobe, listening to his story. I'm a story guy. I'll tell you, that's what I really am. I'm a story guy. I want to know your story. What made you successful? Like, how'd you get in this situation? How'd you get out of your terrible situation? And I love stories, right? And Mishka, sorry, my dog. I think any story that has to do with persevering and pushing through has motivated me. And I do try to find those people. I try to look up, people who own successful businesses and they figure it out. So I can't give you one quote right now, unfortunately, but anybody's story who's affected me, I would totally say, shoot. Actually, I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I'm not a big.
No, you're good. I
like
think
that,
it's a good answer. And I anticipate, I love that it's different because you're different. And like, you don't have to pretend, like, if you're not a quote guy, you're not a quote guy. I love the answer of I'm a story guy. And I'm also, like you said, I'm a big Kobe fan. He was my favorite athlete, the first famous person to die that like truly affected me emotionally.
Yeah.
So I'll lob a Kobe quote back at you.
Hey.
He said, one of my favorites from him was rest at the end, not in the middle. And it kind of speaks to that like dog mindset where you're just like, I'm tired. My back hurts. My knees hurt. My hands hurt. I'm tired. I can't keep my eyes open. Like, how many more days can I keep waking up early and going to bed late doing this thing? You're going to get to rest at the end. Like, don't stop now, because if you keep going, it's going to be good, and you're going to rest, and you're going to look back and be like, I'm glad he didn't quit. So that's a little Kobe quote that I like. Obviously, I love his story, and you kind of have expressed the same as well.
If anybody can watch like this documentary, I'm not sure if you heard of it. It's called Iron Cowboy. It's about a dude who did 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 different states, or something wild. Or it was just 50 Ironmans in 50 different states in like the 48 states here. Bro, that was perseverance. And I watched that during the trial. And I was like, bro, if this guy can get up every day and do an Ironman, what can I do? Right? You can do anything. You can do anything, Zach. I can do anything. Everybody who's watching, you can do anything, bro. You just got to change your mentality. You got to get up off the couch. You got to go talk to people, right? Whatever your plan is, just attack it and be okay when that plan changes. Pivot. Learn how to pivot.
All right. Well, I think like you said at the beginning before we started recording, we could do this thing forever. We could just go all day. But I think that's an excellent place to end it. I will first give you the opportunity. Is there anything you want to plug? Obviously, my captive audience currently may not be that big, but when I eventually do blow up and people go back to this episode, what do you want to plug? What are you up to right now? Is there anything you want to tell the people, a message you want to leave besides what you've already kind of said?
I probably don't have to plug anything. Obviously, to anybody out there who knows me, I sell cars, right? If you need a car, you can hit me up. Or if you just need advice, give me a call. I don't. Like, I've helped people. I've told them not to buy cars. I've told people, like, this car doesn't work for you. So if you need advice, you just hit me up. I'm free like that. So if you want a relationship or if you want to get into a men's course, like, this guy's definitely building something strong. And be on the lookout. I do have another company that I will be starting hopefully in January that is in a complete different industry. So maybe when I hop back on here, who knows when? Yeah. I can plug that.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. But I guess for everyone listening, thank you for making it this far. Like I said at the beginning, you can follow along with more of this stuff at Vitruvian Gentleman. I'm closing in on getting ready to launch the course for the first time, still filling out spots. So if you're listening to this and you think that you're looking for that wolf pack, trying to build that out. So I'd love to hear from you guys. You can message me on either of my Instagram accounts at Vitruvian Gentleman or at ZDSTHENKEN, and reach out. I'd love to hear you guys' stories and see if it'll be a good fit for you. Other than that, remember that your time is your most valuable resource, and thank you for spending a little bit of it with me and Trevor today. Memento Mori, and I will catch you on the next episode of the Vitruvian Gentleman podcast.
All right, guys, stay out west.